Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 505 Sports Venture Foundation program. I'm Kurt Roth. I want to acknowledge behind the glass our producer Adrian from Huntington Beach. Up the steps in the big chair is Steve Davis, who graciously provides us this opportunity every week to come to talk to you about what's going on at the University of New Mexico Athletic Department and how we coexist with them as the NIL collective in Albuquerque. As most of you know, it's a very, very crazy time in college athletics. And right now, UNM's in the middle of this realignment crisis, I guess you could call it. We're going to talk at length about that with our special guest who's well-versed in what's going on, or as well-versed as anyone can, because no one's really sure what's going on. One of the shoes dropped last week when it was announced that 4 of the top revenue-producing teams in the Mountain West were leaving to go with the 2 orphans from the Pac-12. The other day, we got more news that now Utah State is leaving. So it's a quandary. What does UNM do? But also we want to talk about how did we get there? How is it possible that Utah State in Logan, Utah is a more attractive franchise, so to speak, than UNM in Albuquerque? It was inconceivable if you talked about that when Utah State came into the conference. Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about, but we still need your help. So 505sports.org, check it out. There's lots of ways you can commit to giving us help in this fight, basically, to keep UNM athletics relevant. Anyway, we'll be right back after this short break with our special guest. Stay with us.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Mirror here.
And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay.
We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field.
505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space.
And you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Spout, get ready.
My coach. My teacher. My older sisters. My grandma. My brother. My tutor. My dad and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
Hey, look! It's Dwight Goodman!
Boom! This place is hot. Let's see if anyone needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh?
I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver. Boom.
Sweet. Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight.
Boom! Boom!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the 505 SVF Show. We've got a lot to talk about and very little time. So without wasting any more of your time, I want to introduce our guest, familiar to everyone in Albuquerque, Jeff Grammer, beat writer, podcaster, Albuquerque Journal, friend of the program, one of the experts about college sports in the state of New Mexico. Thanks for being here.
Expert as much as you can be, I guess, right? It just means you follow it a little bit.
We're all bozos on a bus, Jeff.
We are.
So anyway, let's start, before we get to the super hot topic of realignment and what it means to UNM. There's another. We had an NIL issue that popped up headlines.
Pretty interesting stuff late night, and that's what happens with the Mountain West and the Pac-12, right? The Pac-12 after dark, the Mountain West after dark. Well, late last night, Matt Sluka, the quarterback for UNLV, 3-0 UNLV, nationally ranked UNLV, outside shot at a college football playoff spot UNLV. He decided to post on social media that he is deciding to redshirt because in college football, once you play your fourth game, it counts as a season. You can play 3 games and still redshirt. He announced last night he is done for the season. He is redshirting and said some obligations, some promises that were made to him were not met, and he's going to redshirt. News has come out today. His father has talked to ESPN. Some sources at UNLV and their collective have come out and kind of countered. Essentially, the story is this from reports, not my own reporting, from reports out of Las Vegas. He says he was promised to transfer to UNLV $100,000 in NIL money. UNLV paid him, the collective paid him $3,000 when he moved, and the collective is now saying, and hasn't paid him since, by the way. Nobody has paid him since. The collective is saying he was never promised $100,000, that they were going to try and give him $3,000 a month. So that's where we're at now. Matt Sluka says, I was promised money I didn't get. And the collective is saying, no, show us the deal, because there was no deal, nothing in writing. All of this begs the question for a lot of people out there, kind of put you on the spot here. What's the difference between what's going on there and what you guys are doing? I know the answer, but I'm teeing one up for you. Because there's one big difference, and it has to do with an actual written contract.
I assume so. I mean, I don't know enough about UNLV's situation and their quarterback to really get into the nitty-gritty. But if there's a dispute about how much you were owed, it would certainly appear that there was no written description, hence no written contract. So I just want everyone to understand, every single athlete that receives any financial consideration from 505 SVF, no matter how small, has a written contract. Because first and foremost, we bargain for the right to use the student athlete's name, image, and likeness. It can be in a photo shoot. It can be a one-off. I take a picture with my iPhone and say, look, so-and-so was at Lobo Talk last night. That's the whole concept. So it sounds like having a verbal promise that's not even in the ballpark with the two concepts. It sounds like old school, you know. Not that it ever happened at UNM, but before there was NIL, we've heard lots of stories, schools getting suspended for illegal payments and disputes breaking out, you know, injuries happening, oh, my leg hurts, you know, blah, blah, blah. Every student athlete at UNM that has an NIL deal has a written contract. It describes their obligations to the collective. It tells them that those obligations cannot interfere with school, cannot interfere with practice, cannot interfere with game travel. Subject to their availability, they receive compensation in exchange for the use of their name, image, and likeness. It's all in writing. And in certain sports, we did have some relocation deals, and they were a one-shot payment of, say, $2,000. Well, that's in writing. Yeah. They sit down, they sign contracts, we explain. I usually meet these student athletes with my chief of staff, Nancy Marquez, who is in charge with getting them into the community, finding charities that they can sponsor or highlight. And so that it has to be that basic of a mess up. And just finally, if he didn't get a contract and the school didn't give him a contract, they're both wrong. Yeah. And it's just a mess.
And it doesn't look good for UNLV. And if The one thing is, if you can put it on him and say, look, you never had it in writing, it's on you, the player, right? And now you're quitting on your team. I will say this, them not giving him a contract and UNLV's coaching staff not ensuring he had a contract and this good working relationship, it doesn't help them with future recruiting, I can tell you that. That's why it would be important to have a partnership with the university and a collective, which you guys now do, at least on some level, right? You guys are able to work together more today than you were a year ago.
No doubt about it. Oh, no. Our partnership, a.k.a. the Lobo Alliance, is off to a running start, and it's necessary. People do need to see NIL as a vital bucket in the funding world. Your scholarships, your facilities, your student health, and then NIL. It's just a fact of life now. But yeah, I can imagine for the UNLV staff recruiting, that is a killer. That is a killer.
I will say that what we're going to talk about coming up, it's sort of, I don't know if ironic is even the right word, but I posted on X last night, on social media, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Where would a player learn this behavior to just take the better offer? This was when rumors were floating that he was being offered more money. So he's just going to leave his team, his commitments, and take more money to go somewhere else? Where would he learn such a thing? So.
Yeah, I'll talk to the president and the athletic director. They might have set a real good example. Anyway, we're finished with our first segment. Hang out. We're going to sell you some stuff and come back more with Jeff Grammer.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is Pro View. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on Pro View Networks.
What's going on? Who are you guys?
Well, sir, I'm going to pick you up at the DWI checkpoint for drunk driving.
And that's when I have to come down to get you out of jail.
Well, temporarily. I'm Judge Torres.
They call him the Hammer. Hey, hot off the presses, champ.
I'm real proud of you, honey.
Way to make them happy back home, Captain. Who's that? That's your new buddy in jail.
If you're drunk,
Blasted,
intoxicated,
ripped,
plastered, destroyed, bruh. If you're like this, you shouldn't be driving.
Hey everybody, welcome back to our second segment of 505 SVF Show. Before we get back with our special guest, Jeff Grammer, I want Adrian to put up a little flyer here. Thursday, coming up, Thursday, September 6th, 6 to 8 p.m. at Fusion ABQ. We are having a tip-off dinner for men's basketball. Yes, couple of hours of pure basketball entertainment. Lobo staff, men's basketball coach Richard Pitino, and basically every single one of the players will be there. It's a very informal type sit-down meal, introduction, meet and greet. We'll have some small auction items, and we need your support. So you can check that out at 505sports.org or golobos.com/tip-off. golobos.com/tip-off. Still some room, not much. We're almost sold out, but join us on Thursday down at Fusion ABQ. All right, let's get back to the insanity that's now occurring, or I don't know, confusion, madness. I don't know what it is.
Uncertainty.
So here's what I keep thinking, and I know you you checked your social media feed as soon as we sat down. On Sunday night, was ready for UNLV to make a decision Monday morning.
Yep.
Here we are, Wednesday, no decision, no new news, really, also no rumors.
Yeah, and I'll say this about UNLV, and for those, most of you probably know what we're talking about. Obviously, the first 4 teams from the Mountain West that left a couple weeks ago, and then Utah State followed, which is a story in and of itself. It blows my mind that Utah State could be the sort of linchpin about whether or not UNLV then stays. So UNLV and all the 8 remaining teams, including Utah State, had an agreement they were going to stay in the Mountain West. Utah State kind of goes quiet on the other ADs when the Pac-12 comes calling because 4 AAC teams told them no. So when Utah State bolted and took the invitation to the Pac-12, UNLV is now in reconsider mode, right? So right now what's going on as of this show, UNLV is having more money thrown at them by the Mountain West. Stay. Let's ride this out. And we'll find one more football playing member if we have to. We'll do what we can. And UNLV is considering it. And I do keep looking for updates because right now between the 2 conferences you could certainly argue, and some have, that the Pac-12 is better. But ultimately the UNLV's ultimate goal is not the Pac-12 or even the Mountain West. It's to go to the Big 12, right? So if UNLV wants to go to the Big 12, it has an option of going to the Pac-12 and being maybe not the best football team in that league. It could ride out the Mountain West for 3-5 more years maybe when the next cycle of realignment comes through. And it can take the money, all this exit fee money that the Pac-12 teams are giving the Mountain West, it could take that and try and build itself. So can UNM. This isn't the last round of all this, right? This is going to happen again in a couple years until the major break-off between the top 60 or 70 football programs and the bottom 60 or 70 football programs that are all in FBS right now. I think it's going to be 136 teams next year with 2 more coming. I think the break-off at some point is probably going to happen. If you're not in that top 60, you're in the Mountain West Pac-12 level right now anyway. It's called the Group of 5 right now. It'll be a Group of 6 when you add the Pac-12. Build yourself up as best you can for the next wave of this is sort of what the selling point for UNLV is right now. And then frankly, it is UNM's selling point too. You can position yourself pretty well if you start kind of getting on board with some things in the next 4 or 5 years, really in the next year, to be ready for the next wave in the next 4 or 5 years.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, I have a sort of jaded point of view here, but the only way UNM gets ready in the next year or immediately is through the NIL collective.
100%.
You saw last year, we came on in the tournament, 4 straight games, Mountain West Championship. I would say, as a Lobo fan for 54 years, may not be the most talented roster, top 5, but no doubt 1 through 13, the most talented Lobo roster of all time. And I've watched 52 years. I go back beyond that. NIL is the key component now. People can talk about facilities and $100 million this. It is much less expensive to develop your NIL program. Get the dudes on the field, get the results, and the rest should follow. But if you don't have the results on the field, if you don't have the players, the top-notch student athletes, you're done. So
I will say this.
It's all about the NIL today.
That Mountain West tournament run, the best player in that gym for 1 week of basketball was Jalen House. Jalen House stayed in college because of NIL money. He could have left the year before. He had his degree. And he could have left before that final year. And then he was a graduate student and got honored for all these great academic stuff and whatever. He could have probably left a year prior and stayed, at least in part, if not entirely in part, because he had some NIL money. And that was what carried UNM to the NCAA tournament that week, right? The other part of this, and I will not take credit for this idea, it was somebody on social media. Why wouldn't the Mountain West schools in some way, I don't think you can do this, but hear me out, take some of this exit fee money and this poaching penalty money and say you get $10 million. Pump some of that directly into NIL, and you build your programs better than the Pac-12 programs right now. The person on social media who said this, by the way, said, why don't we take the $10 million penalty from each school and use that money specifically to go get their players to recruit?
Oh, well, what an interesting, diabolical plan.
Yeah,
anyway,
petty.
I'm going to tell you before we take another break, the big schools, the Alabamas and Ohio State are already believing that this House settlement, not Jalen House, the House settlement is law, and they're paying their players already. Anyway, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with our final segment with Jeff Grammer. Hang out. Stay with us.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is Pro View. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on Pro View Networks.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here.
And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay.
We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field.
505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space.
And you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Like me, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Our final segment of this week's 505 SVF Show. I'm here with Albuquerque Journal writer, Lobo beat writer, Jeff Grammer, a good friend of the program and regular contributor. All right, turmoil, confusion. What's your intuition tell you is going to happen here?
At this point, I've said this from the beginning, and I still believe it to be true. The Mountain West will not go away. I don't see that on the table. Some people do see that on the table, so let's put that on the table. But then quickly wipe it away, because I don't see the Mountain West going away. They got a lot of money to sit on through all this, and frankly, there's still a spot in this landscape, in this media landscape, for inventory, for games out west. And you need some football content. You need some FBS football content in the Pacific time zone, in the Mountain time zone. There's not a whole lot of that out there. So even if the Pac-12 does survive and somehow flourish, they are not the only ones out there that are going to be providing late-night football, right? The Mountain West will fill that, and maybe if they have to go pick off some teams from somewhere else, they will. I think that the Mountain West will survive. At this point, I'm more back to maybe a 50-50 on the UNLV thing. If UNLV goes to the Pac-12, the Mountain West is really going to take a hit. There's no denying that. But I'm now 50-50 that maybe the Mountain West is throwing enough money at UNLV that they stay. If they stay, Air Force certainly stays. I think Air Force is going to end up staying anyway, actually. But here we are. We're in a position where UNM right now doesn't exactly have the best cards in its hand to deal. They got to play. So they got to figure out something to put themselves in a better position for the next wave.
Yeah, we and I said this earlier yesterday in a studio show. New Mexico, from the governor to the legislature to the public to the university, we built this situation brick by brick. It's no one else's fault but New Mexico's. Yeah. We got ourselves here. Let's look forward to the future. And again, today, you want to put a real strong start on it, it's NIL. It's keeping the great players here. It's the retention. It's the recruitment. And it's way less than building a stadium. It's way less than new facilities. It's cost efficient. 505sports.org. Okay, here's my take is UNLV stays. Okay. I'm an optimist. I wasn't on Sunday. I'm an optimist today. I really want to see expansion south for a bunch of reasons. I'd love to see New Mexico State and UTEP added. Both. You talked off camera about one of the Montana schools. Not a bad idea. Kind of the flavor of the Mountain West. College towns. I was just in Bozeman. Really cool place. They do love football. They put a good team up there. As far as, and possibly another Texas school. There's been a bunch in the mix. As far as State and UTEP, I love the concept for the rivalries. And I'm looking at this as a New Mexican. I want to lift everybody. Yeah. I think we want to get New Mexico State up a level. I also think there's an economic cost or savings in the travel, especially for the Olympic sports. Yeah. If you're not flying everywhere, if you're going to take a trip to Las Cruces and El Paso
for 2 of your league trips,
I think it's a no-brainer in that sense. I know we hear all about New Mexico State from Lobos. Hey, let's lift. We're all in this together. It's time to unite.
The Aggie covering the Lobos will say this. The fan bases going at it about rivalry stuff is fine. The fan bases continually going at it when it comes to finances. It's got to stop. Aggie fans can't constantly tell their lawmakers, hey, quit giving UNM money. What about us? Lobo fans have to quit not including the Aggies in that. The only way the state is going to actually give state money to these two schools is if both of them get it. And you got to have a unified front on that regard. If you're asking the state for money, quit trying to make it one or the other and just let both FBS programs get the state money.
Okay. All right. Well, we're coming to the last couple of minutes. You were at basketball practice yesterday. Yeah. What's your early thoughts?
I can't wait to see how this team looks on the court when it looks like a more normal team. That's not a sexy way to sell it, but Jalen House and Jamal Mashburn Jr. were so unique that the team Lobo fans saw for 3 years was built around playing with two very unique guards. I think Donovan Dent is so good and is going to be so refreshing to some people, I think, in that I'm going to miss covering Jalen and Jamal both. But I think it's going to be more traditional, and they're so much bigger. I think the defense, I think this could be a really good defensive team. I think 3 of their 5 starters, maybe 4 of their 5 starters, depending on what they do with the 4, can be really good plus defensive players. Anybody surprise you or stand out? Obviously Philip Borovitsagin, Philly B, Philip. The transfer from Arizona is a guy that when he's rolling offensively certainly has caught my eye because he's a 6'9" guard, and Patino said that again. A real guard. And he is not going to play the 4. He's not a forward. He is a guard. I don't know that it's going to translate this year under Donovan Dent to a whole lot of playing time, but I actually like Cade. I like Cade Dotson quite a bit too. And then the other guy that impresses me was here last year is I really think Nelly Jr. Joseph is going to take a step this year and just anchor what I think could be a pretty good defense for the Lobos. Yeah, I agree basically on all those counts. Cade is going to play minutes from the get-go. I also want to reach out and mention my man, True Washington. Yes, absolutely. Just like kind of a swing player in a sense, strong on defense. Yeah. His offensive game is much improved. I'm really excited. And Nelly, too. Remember, last year Nelly we didn't know where he was. He was still like 3 weeks away. He got here late, and then you had the emergence of JT kind of taking some of that post. Good point. So
All right, everybody. Well, I want to thank Jeff for being here again. He'll be back on soon. Hey, 505sports.org. Come to our tip-off dinner on Thursday night. Golf outing on Friday afternoon, Santa Ana in the afternoon. So there you go. Check it out. Hang in. Stay with us. The NIL is the present way to greatness. We'll see you next week.